tuning in to the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing after shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
We are back, guys. You are tuning in to the Strain After Show here at AFTERBUZZ TV. Who do you think you are? Running around, leaving scars, and collecting your jars of hearts. Just like Eldritch Palmer, who's all about those jars of organs that are not really working very well anymore.
That's one of the creepiest things we've seen this year.
I don't know. We've seen a lot of creepy things.
Anyway, guys, you're joining us here for the finale after show of The Strain Season 1, Episode 13.
Yes.
Entitled The Master. We're really excited. We really enjoyed the finale. I'm your host, Stephen Lemieux, joined today by Zach Wilson.
Hey, guys.
And amazing Jacque Borowski.
Holla.
And, guys, we have a special guest on the line. She is video Skyping in all the way from Canada. We have Natalie Brown, who you may know as Kelly Goodweather, on the line with us. How are you doing tonight, Natalie?
Hi.
Can you hear us all right?
I'm the first person in the history of the AfterBuzz to screw up the feed, but
No.
That's completely all right.
Not at all.
You're not.
Josh, go ahead and turn up the max so we can hear her better. And
can you hear me now?
Is this a Verizon commercial?
I'm so trying to not give you a view of my nostrils.
Your nostrils
can you hear
are
me
beautiful.
from here?
It's fine.
Well,
Yes.
you should cherish those, because judging by how we saw you at the end of this episode, you probably are not going to have nostrils very long.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Enjoy them while I got them.
How's your shoulder? Is the silver still hurt?
Yeah, that's why I have to wear my shirt off the shoulder like this, just for the bandages.
It's
I'm a little slow to heal.
It's the Strigoi fashion.
I saw it with the noses. It looks like the effect they do with the noses. They put like a green screen on the nose and then like super. Is that how it's done? Like the green screen
I
on the
actually
nose?
posted a pic of me and the master with Robert Maillet on set, and he's just got like black over his nose.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that wasn't a secret. But
No,
yeah.
he actually-
Although, did you notice that Quinlan has his nose curiously?
Yeah.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
He had rhinoplasty, I guess.
And his eyes aren't red. Everybody else has like reddish eyes, and his eyes aren't red.
Quinlan's got to be some kind of special thing.
Because he's kind of good.
He is kind of good.
I know Guillermo had this thing where he only wanted to save the color red for turncoats on the show. So it was a really interesting wardrobe process. We couldn't have any burgundies or reds unless you were on the dark side.
Huh.
I
That's
like
actually
that.
kind of cool.
Yeah, that's great.
Although Kelly had a lot of brown. There was a lot of brown in Kelly's wardrobe, which had reddish undertones. So
I mean, that also has to do with your last name, maybe. They're just like, Natalie Brown, let's just go with that color.
it has haunted me my entire life. It's my hair, my eyes, my name. I was at Brownies for 4 years. It just will not leave me alone.
Aww.
Well, they're gonna kill you with brown, not silver.
Can we ask some questions?
Yeah,
Because I
let's-
have a question.
Yes, please.
We were actually when you turned, we were interested in your thought process as an actor when you turned, because it was really interesting, because to us we saw a clear conflict on your face when you had that tongue stick out and you killed your friend. And so we felt that, and I don't know if this was deliberate or not, but we felt that Kelly was having some severe issues as she was turning. She seemed to be one of the more cognizant characters.
That makes me so happy to hear you say that, because that's what we were going for. There were several conversations with Carlton and Guillermo and the writers, and also the choreographer that I worked very closely with, on how to ride the line between humanness and vampireness, and how much consciousness is still there. And I did feel conflicted, because she wasn't fully turned when the first strike happens, and it's someone that she's very close to, and I felt conflicted about, and I was really hoping to convey that inner torment of not only the torment of like what is happening, but the confusion of the satiation she feels. She's horrified by what she's just done, but God, Diane tasted so good.
Do the young ones taste better?
Yeah.
Dude, it's like veal.
Oh my God.
No.
That's absolutely terrible.
Sorry.
Spring lamb.
So you said you said you had a dance instructor, because there's a lot of physicality to this role now that you've turned. You can see, especially in this last episode, where you're kind of like twisting your head and your shoulders are moving.
It was so much fun. Roberto Campanella is the vamp choreographer that Guillermo hired to create the physicality of the vampires in a certain look and movement and uniformity. And I actually just saw his company perform this weekend. He's a beautiful dancer and choreographer from Italy who's currently in Toronto with a dance company and world renowned, and has employed a lot of dancers that he's worked with over the years who are a lot of the vamps you see in the scenes. And I mean, God, some of these dancers are just so skilled. And when I was in vamp camp, that's what they called it, we all had to go to vamp camp and learned certain things that all vampires have in common. Like there is a twitching that you see, and that is due to the bloodworms writhing under the skin. So kind of like when a horse flicks its tail, when flies are sort of added, it's sort of like these involuntary twitches from the worms moving under the skin. But every vampire or every person that is infected has a different metabolism, so the virus affected different people at different rates. And in anticipation of what was to come, I took a variety of classes. Some were not very appropriate for what was coming. And I actually injured myself. I pulled my groin. And when I finally got to work with the choreographer, the one thing he was looking to do at stage 4 was some of the vamps scurry on all fours. And it was the one thing I couldn't do. And the actress who played Joan Less, who was incredible, Leslie Hope, she was terrifying. She went right down on all fours, and when she attacked her children, we were hoping that Kelly is perhaps a little more highly functioning, and she's not all the way turned yet. So she has a little bit more of a regal,
more class,
if you will, stance.
So I do want to ask, though, because you're a character who's been in the show since episode 1.
As a normal person.
But even though you were in most of the episodes, this was the very first episode where you actually interacted with cast outside of Drew Nelson, Ben Hyland, and Corey Stoll. Like,
not that I was complaining. I mean, I felt like the luckiest girl in the world to begin with, getting to work with Ben and Drew and Corey. My goodness, I couldn't be any luckier. But I was so excited. There's some intersecting of the Get Along gang. Did you see the finale yet?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
This is the after show.
It was the closest I've ever come to a scene with Kevin Durand.
You just missed him.
I'm also from Northern Ontario. I'm from halfway to his hometown. And, I'm dying to work with Ruta and Mia and David Bradley. So that was the closest I've come to sharing a scene with them. But, yeah, it's really exciting for Kelly's development and for me as an actor to break out of the house, and go on a little adventure.
Well, that's really fun. I mean, I enjoy the series. We really didn't get enough of your character for a good backstory for really, to develop it more, so I'm really glad that we're going to keep your character and go through the conflict that you're going to have as you become more cognizant in this changed and new developed form of Strigoi, as opposed to just being a mindless one. So I'm really looking forward to the conflict that your character is going to feel in that.
Me too.
I also like how we're getting these, now that she's turned, we're getting these flashbacks to before she was turned, and that oh my gosh,
solidifies.
No, that serves as our backstory.
No, yeah,
almost. So that's where the backstory fill-in comes in.
I mean, of course, they're not necessarily adhering to the books, but that's where I garnered a lot of the information and backstory on Kelly. The second and third book, there's very detailed flashbacks to her early life with Ephraim and how they struggled to conceive and what a difficult birth it was. to have Zach, and which really strengthens the bond that she has with him, being her only child, her only son. So I'm curious whether there will be more flashbacks, which will inform the backstory more, but we'll have to see what the writers have in store.
I'm excited. So
Me too.
I want to talk about this episode and talk about it with you because you're so embedded in the story, and a lot of the drama that we get from Ephraim and Zach's their characters' interactions are the dramatic irony of Ephraim knowing about you, or rather having a good idea of what happened to you and not being able to tell Zach, and Satraki and really wanting to tell Zach. So let's go ahead and talk about the whole storyline involving Satraki and Zach and the first outing. So I'm assuming it's Vasily Fett's place, correct? It's not
I thought it was Dutch's place.
I thought it was Dutch's place at first too, but then they said we're going to go back to Fett's place.
Yes.
So it's Fett's place.
But where they start, I mean, he says that, I was confused by that. I'd forgotten where they were, because it's a really great pad.
Yeah, it is.
I want to hang out there. But you're talking about the decision to finally include Zach and stop trying to shelter him from what's happening. And I think Nora's character really said it beautifully. I mean, you have to stop sheltering him, and the best way to keep him safe is to keep him close to you.
I agree with that, and I liked that moment because she had just killed her mom, because she had to kill her mom because she left her mom there, and her mom...
Shit. I lost you.
Oh, we can still hear you.
Can you hear us?
Oh, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you again. What was that?
That was her... She just had to kill her mom in the previous episode because she left her mom by herself. So I feel like she was also saying that because she just went through this experience where the person that she loved, that she should have taken with her, she left, and it ended up badly.
Well, then you also look at the Master's interaction with Ephraim, and he's comparing Ephraim to Satrakian as that he's kind of like the new Satrakian 2.0 in some ways compared to the Master. And when you look at the story of Miriam, by the way, shout out to our YouTube fan who said that he had created the cross of Miriam in the concentration camp, or the work camp,
to protect
and then
him.
married somebody named Miriam.
Yeah.
That was kind of a cool thing that they noted. But you look at how he left to go hunt the Master, and that's when they took what's precious to him. And Ephraim's about to make the same mistake as well. He's about to leave Zach behind and go hunt the Master, and that's when he would strike, and that's why you got to keep him close to you. When you look at Nora, you're right. It's history repeating itself several times with all these characters that, I mean, it's insane, but it's great writing because it makes you kind of realize the subtle nuances. So the
difference, though, Satrakian let everybody in his family in on give full details, like, this is what you need to know. Ephraim's just like, Zach doesn't need to know about some crucial...
That was a hard moment where he tells Kelly to leave town, and she doesn't know why. And so it's like, why would you leave town if you're not given all of the information?
Well, and here's the thing, because I feel like a lot of the show is about choices, the choices that people make, and the root of all those choices, good or bad, is love. And love and fear are very close parallels sometimes. But when you look at all the choices that people made for love, Jim Kent, was a traitor, but out of love for his wife and wanting to save her. And the choices that Gus made was for the love of his mother. And I'm forgetting one of the survivors. One of the plane survivors, his wife, when she feeds.
Ansel Barber.
Yes.
Ansel Barber, Mrs. Barber, when she feeds the neighbor to her husband. She loves him, and she was a very religious woman. So, and Kelly doesn't make the right choice, as far as listening to Ephraim, because I think she wanted to try to respect her new partner, but also ultimately she really wants her son to feel safe. It's the only reason why she stayed. It wasn't so much that she doubted Ephraim. She just really wanted to give her son a sense of stability, which is why she left Ephraim in the first place. So that people continue to make, again, whether they turn out for better or for worse, are always based out of love and concern.
So
it just doesn't work out so well.
Before we wrap up with you, and after talking about having the neighbors over for dinner, I do want to ask, like,
I just say I'm foodie on my Twitter feed.
How would you prepare them?
Yeah, people and foodie lover, yeah.
So, how did you get involved with the project in the first place? What has you like overall? Were you really excited when you found out about it, or did you not really know what it was until you kind of were part of it?
Yeah, I mean, I got an audition, and initially I just had a 4-page scene, and it was in the therapist's office, and it read a little bit comedic. So I researched the project and immediately found out about the books. And when I researched the books, I went, oh, and I, of course, saw Guillermo's name attached to it. I knew that it probably wasn't a comedy, although he is very, very comedic himself. But read it up on the books and gave it a little bit more weight. And I had a callback. I couldn't believe I had a callback with Guillermo and Carlton in the same room. And it went well, and then I got to read with Corey. And yeah, when I found out I got the role, I was actually on a trip. I was away. And I just thought, what an opportunity to meet two great men. But who are we kidding? That was sort of my mantra, like, who are we kidding? And, well, it's just a lot of really huge projects come to Toronto, but they usually cast a lot of the more important roles with actors from abroad. And yeah, when I found out I got the role, I couldn't believe it. And I was actually, I recasted someone who was originally cast in the role, but that didn't work out. She wasn't available, and I was thrilled that I was. And
can you tell us who that is, or no?
What's that?
Are you allowed to tell us who you recast?
No. I mean, come the first day of filming, everyone, that they wanted to cast were present. Whoever was willing and available were there, and I think everything is definitely meant to be. And he's just brought such a diverse, rich cast of characters from so many different places, and I'm thrilled to be a part of it.
He does. I actually have a question along the lines of your audition. Did you have to do any of the physical aspect? Did you know that your character was going to turn?
No. It was when, once I got the role, I read the second and third book, and I got really excited when I saw what was coming. Genre shows are not entirely new to me, but I have been a part of a couple of sci-fi shows. But I've always played the human on the shows that I've worked on in the past. So whether there was vampires, werewolves, ghosts, I was always the human. I was like either the girlfriend or the wife or the friend. And this is the first time I finally get my monster on, and I love it.
That's awesome. We're loving it. You look like you're having a great time.
A lot for Kelly.
So I'm curious, in the audition process, before we move too far past that, when you get into a room with people like Carlton Cuse and Guillermo del Toro, what kind of things did they take you through, just as an actor? Like, what's their process of auditioning someone for a role like this?
Well, the first thing they did was hug and shake hands.
Aww.
So there's that. So just, completely set you at ease and make you feel very comfortable. Any questions? And after the first take of the therapist scene, Guillermo looked at me and said, that was great, but Kelly is less emphatic and more fatigued. And those were two such specific directions. I knew exactly what he wanted. And so that's the thing. I mean, he's equal. I've said it before, but he really is equal parts levity and specificity. I mean, he's so lighthearted and easygoing and welcoming and generous, but very, very specific with his direction. And Carlton also, whether it was through email, but somewhat directing me when Kelly was going through a transformation on trying to ride the line between humanness and vampireness, and trying to keep Kelly somehow sympathetic to viewers, and just to have fun exploring. And that's what we were doing. There's no vampire handbook to refer to. I mean, a lot of this is creating as we go, and the writers, Jennifer Hutchinson wrote a really fantastic script, and that was thrilling just to be a part of a script that she wrote. She wrote the first 3 seasons of Breaking Bad, just saying. And Bradley Thompson and just all the writers were very insightful, and John Dahl, who directed the episode, and then Roberto, the choreographer, who just kept fine-tuning just, nuances and movements, and how to climb down stairs without looking down like a person would, and trying to tap into the sixth sense that a vampire has. So it's been a blast exploring.
I love that you had to go to vamp camp.
Did I answer the question?
Yes, and I love that you had to go to vamp camp. That's still one of my favorite aspects of this whole thing.
Well, Natalie, I want to thank you so much for calling into the show. What? Huh?
Thank you guys for having me after the finale. I am so honored.
Yeah, we're so glad we got to talk to you because I know I tweeted out to you and I didn't think I'd get a response, but I was so excited because I was like, yes, we're gonna get Kelly Goodweather on the show. That was my response, except jumping up and down. I can't really jump right now.
We caught him doing it. We were all poking and.
I know they were laughing, but it's been so great to have you on the show, and I'm really looking forward to seeing your character develop. And one of the things I'm most looking forward to next season is to see how Kelly Goodweather interacts with Richard Sammel's Ikehurst, and I can't wait for that.
It's gonna be awesome.
I can't tell you how excited I am. I mean, I'm hoping I can either borrow Bolivar's wigs or maybe Ikehurst's concealer. We'll have to see, but I'm really excited too.
When do you guys start filming? Have you heard yet?
Yes, middle of November.
Nice.
Awesome.
Coming 2015.
Yes.
All right, well, where can your fans find you? Because we have to say goodbye so we can recap this amazing finale.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at Brown and Miss. It's Miss N Brown backwards. And same thing on Instagram, Miss N Brown. And on Facebook, I am Northtown Brown.
All right, well, thank you so much for coming on the show for us, Natalie. I really
Thank you,
appreciate it.
Natalie.
Thanks for joining us.
So much, guys. Hope you all enjoyed the finale.
We did.
All right, guys, so let's go ahead and bust into this finale. We got to go through it probably pretty quick. I'm sorry we know I get excited when
No, those are really cool stories.
Yeah.
She had some awesome details.
Awesome stories.
she's going to have more next season, I guarantee you. Wow. Okay, so let's actually bust through Gus's story first because I really want to talk about this, and I know we're going to spend the most time talking about this, so I want to just...
So cool.
Okay,
So cool.
So Gus is in a jail cell kind of thing, and he's strapped to a chair. They take the thing off.
Apparently deep underground, too.
Yeah. Is the name a spoiler? Can I just say the name?
No, it's not a spoiler. It's all over the internet.
All right,
and she
everyone's-
said it.
Well, yeah, Kelly said it earlier.
Yeah, everyone's
anyway.
saying it. His name's Quinlan.
Which I don't think they even said on the show.
No.
They didn't.
They
But
haven't.
even if you watch the show, the subtitles say Quinlan says this. So you know what? I think it's at this point, I'm safe to say that it's not too much a spoiler.
It's not a
All right, so
spoiler,
the
yeah.
Daywalker, we call him Daywalkers, is named Quinlan. So Quinlan's got him strapped to a chair, cuts him free, and he tries to punch him, and Quinlan just knocks him flat on his face. And they play this little game of like cat and mouse here for a second with Gus not wanting to listen to anything, and Quinlan just taunting him with like, "Oh, you want revenge?" It's like a Deckard Cain kind of voice.
That voice is great.
I love
Great.
it. It's such the perfect level of creepy and badass.
Shout out to Stephen McHattie. Stephen McHattie is the actor from Toronto who plays that role, and I was trying to see if we can get an interview with him as well. He is phenomenal in that
He
role.
is. He is.
I love because Gus is like he's such a hothead that he's like I'm just gonna beat you up, but clearly you have these crazy resources to capture me, tie me to a chair, and stick me in this dungeon. But if I hit you hard enough, that'll solve it.
Well, I think part of it is that Gus is by nature a fighter, so he imagines himself going down fighting no matter what.
Oh yeah, and I think what's really interesting is you get a really good look at Quinlan this episode, and you can see that his lips are similar to the Master's lips with the flaps going over. So it kind of makes a little bit.
Are
Yeah.
similar.
Did Ikehurst look like that when we got the unmakeup version?
I think slightly, but I think it was so far before we saw the Master that we didn't remember, and I don't think we
Yeah.
rewatched it.
Because I don't think it was like that. Like Quinlan looks a lot more like the Master than Ikehurst ever did.
For all we know, Quinlan could be a Master himself.
I maintain that to me that feels like what's happening.
Yeah.
He just doesn't need to be so big. He's got his little like Jedi ninja skills.
So they play this game of cat and mouse before
Well,
he
the
finally.
reason the Master is big, though, is because the... okay.
Don't say it.
No
There's a
book,
reason
no
as to
book.
why the Master is taller.
If you want to know why the Master's taller, watch the interview with Robert Maillet we did. He mentions it in it. It was a spoiler for me, but I think that they're going to reveal that through flashbacks in the next episode in
He probably
season 2.
didn't think it was a spoiler because it's like mentioned in the first chapter in the book. So it's like...
Well, if you want to read the books, it's really cool, and it makes sense for why the Master looks the way he does. That's all I'm saying. But he plays this cat and mouse game until Gus finally runs in this gigantic room where all the lights are off, and he trips, and there's like blood on his hands, and I'm like, he's in the presence of a Master. That's what I said. He's in the presence of a master.
Exactly what Steve said.
I get really into it with the campiness.
But then he's not. He's in presence of something even crazier.
The freaking ancients from the Indiana Jones and the Temple of the Crystal Skull.
No, please, no.
No, I
Never.
mean, no, the ancients, which is really cool though, because like the lights go up and I'm like, ooh, and Quinlan's standing there, ooh, and then the guys are like, ooh, and they see what?
I want to hear you say, what are they called?
What?
The old dudes?
The ancients.
The ancients.
The ancients?
Ancients.
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 All right, you can move
ANC.
forward. I just wanted to hear you say it again.
The ANKSHINTS. Ancients.
Wait, is that a thing?
It's a thing. I'll tell you now.
It's a thing in the South.
No, wait. Are they not the ancients? They're the ancients.
No, they're not the
I don't know what's
ancients. It's just
happening
that
here.
Steve mispronounces things because he's Southern.
I thought I blinked for a second.
Zach, I'm from North Carolina. I'm from North Carolina. I can
I-
say ancients and I can say 100.
I'm aware. And Matt would usually make fun of you for it, so I need to feel
We can't go off topic because we only have 20 minutes to get through this amazing finale of The Strain.
I do love how theatrical that was. Like, for me, that was very exciting. And I loved how it was almost like Gus cartoon ran into that situation. His running to me was very cartoonish, where he was just like, bam, and I'm out. And he runs into the blood theater room where they turn on all the lights.
But I love how Stephen McHatty's playing the character of Quinlan. When he tries to punch him and he runs away and he just doesn't even like move. He just and then it cuts and you're like, ah!
He knows he has nowhere to go, so he's just like, meh, he's gonna make it to the theater room. I'll just turn the lights on.
So basically, we find out that the master, which is called an archiphyte, I think is what they called it,
Archiphyte.
like betrayed a treaty by coming over from Germany, and he's basically creating a war, and he's done an act of war. And it's funny because you see the ancients and they're like this very old school style vampire. I love it. And they're like looking, it's like,
They're
why
almost like mummies. Like, they're mummified.
It reminds me of Underworld, where they're in the coffins and they're all dried out, and then like you have to awaken them with blood to bring them back. Did you ever watch Underworld?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah. You're
this
talking
reminds me of Queen of the Damned, the movie where they brought back was it Ashaka or
Shanti?
no, it's
No,
not.
who was the?
the
no,
I don't know.
actress?
Anyway, but it's really interesting. I think you're right. I think it's going to be something like they need, because he talks about them having to be awoken. They're dreaming.
But I'm wondering why they haven't awoken them yet. I feel like that's like a last thing, and I feel like in the last season of this show, because I think Guillermo's probably not trying to have it where FX just keeps making them make more seasons. I really think this has an expiration date.
Oh yeah.
I think we're having probably 4 seasons.
He said 5.
5?
Guillermo said 5.
Okay,
Yeah.
He's had this mapped out as a TV show from the start,
Oh,
so
yeah.
he knows where this is going.
and I love that, because I love it when you have a TV show that actually has an ending and they're not just trying to string it along further and further, because I'm sure he has other stuff to do and other projects. Pacific Rim 2. So...
Well, he also has that movie that's like a haunted mansion movie.
Oh, he's got tons of stuff.
Either way.
Either way, there's ancients. It's like the 500 from Helix, except they're ancients, and it's
it
awesome.
sounds like they're anxious and ancient.
They're anxious to wake up. So they basically promise him a big payload if he'll become their daywalker. The daywalker's daywalker will be Gus.
Yeah, because I guess they can go out in the daylight with their special hoodies and whatnot. They're basically like covering themselves up if they're in the rain.
Did we get a shot of that? Because that was important.
Well, I feel
Zach gave a demonstration.
I feel like now that we've seen the master can actually be in the sunlight for periods of time without dying completely, I feel like these guys might be special enough that if they get grazed by it, they're fine. If
Well,
that makes sense?
I also think that, I mean, the master thing is a whole nother game changer, because Satrakian basically thought he knew the rules of vampirism. He knew them. And then for the master to be strong enough to sort of not be beholden to one of the rules is just unthinkable to him. It's like he was in the sunlight for so long, for such a long period of time, and for him to still get away, it's like this is the game changer at the end of the episode.
It was interesting to see fear on his face, though. That was definitely interesting, and the way he like stood up really like was crazy. You could see how tall he was. You could see the armor on his back. I mean, I'm
It's
not
like
even
that
sure.
moment in Beauty and the Beast where the Beast turns into a human being.
I'm just not even sure if the master is the same thing as an ancient. I think he's a completely different new thing, because the ancients did not look like the master very much, and the ancients, honestly, they didn't look like they would be worm monsters.
Interesting. So I wonder if they're what the vampires were originally. they somehow created the worms, which then sort of evolved into.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's a deeper story here, but for now, I don't think we can talk about it because we have to move on.
So many possibilities.
I know, my God. Okay, let's talk about Eldritch Palmer. Who does he think he is? With that jar of hearts.
He's a superstar with his new face.
So he walks into, he brings Fitzsimmons down to Satrakian's pawn shop. Fitzwilliams. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I guess. I don't know.
We had that interview with Dutch, by the way, where she points out how intricate the pawn shop is. And so I gave an extra close look this time, and I was like, yeah, it is really intricate. Like,
everywhere the camera's on, you see something new.
They put a lot of... And I think that's Guillermo del Toro. Like, he just loves that kind of detail.
He creates worlds. He doesn't create content. It's amazing. So they're walking through here, and Eldritch is just like, I would like that. You know what? Just pack it all up. I don't want that, though. And it's like the beheaded mother of Nora, and I'm like, So then he finds the heart, and he's like, this is my fragile property. Put this safely in my apartment. And then we get this scene with Ikehurst, where...
It's fascinating to me, though, that when he says that he wants all these things, he's looking at their research. So I'm like, like he wants to, he really is invested in this to the point that he wants to take all the research and keep it for himself.
Well, because at this point he's been cured, and once he finds out that he's not immortal anymore, I feel like he wants to go to war with the Master as well, because this is a man who built an entire fortune through a company. That's not a man who'll be satiated with any amount of power.
No.
So he's going to always want more power, and what I think is, I think the white, and Ikehurst says it, he says, you got the white, but you didn't get the worm. So I think now that he has this heart, he has the worm.
That is true.
So if the white is still in his blood and it interacts with the worm, it could change him into a master himself.
But I think the Master would have to do it. Like, I think he doesn't understand that he's going to be a mindless drone if he just has it any old way.
Yeah, I don't think the white would have that big of an effect that it would make him like a master or anything above. I think he might. There's a chance he goes for the worms in there and just becomes a regular old vamp.
I'd like to see him something different though than just a regular old vamp if that happens.
Yeah. Did you notice the makeup on him though? Like, he looked so old in the previous episode, and this episode, it's almost like he got tanner as the episode went on. Like, not only does he look younger because he had aged him up for the other scenes, but then I was like, dude has been getting a spray tan throughout the episode, because by the last scene he has, he's like orange.
He's using that Donald Trump stuff. Yeah. So Eldritch Palmer talks to Fitzwilliams, tells him to something about the TV stations, right?
Well, they're talking about how the emergency broadcast message
went out.
that went out, and like that's obviously a huge crutch in their plans.
Right.
And he mentions that they're trying to put it on quarantine, and he says, make them stop that, and he says no. And that's where we get the scene where Fitzwilliams like says that my debt to you is paid because I could kill you right now, and I'm not going to. And he walks out, and the elevator is not blue; it is yellow or green. I'm colorblind. Tell me
red.
what it was.
It was red.
It was
Steve.
red. Okay, so that's the betrayal. It's red, so he's going down a red elevator. That's actually kind of cool. I like that they changed the color on that. So his next stop is going to be the CDC, where he speaks to the head of the CDC.
The actual head of the CDC. I was so pleased to see this. I was like, Steve's going to be so excited.
I know. And the Secretary of Health.
I wrote it. Hold on. Keep talking.
Secretary of Health, and he's there. She's talking. He walks in. She's talking about how she needs to cut off all the bridges and make sure
Health and Human Services,
and make sure the whole city of Manhattan is quarantined off so this can't spread. And the other guy's agreeing with her until Eldritch walks in. She's like, are you blind? There's monsters out there, as preposterous as it seems. And he's trying to convince her otherwise.
I was really happy with that scene because we had that scene, I think it was like the first or second episode, where he talks to her and she's basically kind of
on his side.
So on his side. And I'm like, thank goodness someone has morals here.
I mean, she's basically at this point, she could give in and like try to and like satiate him, but he's not even giving any reason. He's just like, don't do this.
Yeah, he's just don't do this.
Like, I
have my intimidating German friend with me. I would like it very much so if you could just not do that.
Yeah, of course. Here's my question about that scene. how was I-coursed in that room with giant windows? I know they had some shades drawn, but those were not
They
sunshades.
drew the shades. Zach, they drew the shades, and he's got makeup on. SPF 1000. 1000.
1,000.
SPF 1000?
The sunscreen, it works very
Sorry,
well.
1000.
By the way, like side note, who tells a person, like, what a dick move? Who tells a person, oh, I've been to Munich and I hated it? Like,
He's a dick, though. You know he's a dick. He likes feeling powerful. Well,
it's
he's not
just,
very powerful
like,
anymore.
In a business sense, even if you don't like someone in a business sense, if you know someone is a powerful business person when they walk into the room, you don't diss their hometown.
Okay, well...
Unless he isn't from Munich. I mean, but still.
Who gives someone a hug, then picks them up and throws them off a building? In a business sense. That
was
just doesn't
saying-
make good business.
He was saying goodbye, I guess.
It was. He was saying goodbye. He throws her off the building. And the head of the CDC is like...
We were all like, what just happened? Because he's like,
I
that's
saw it coming.
done. And I didn't see it coming in such a way that it was just like, boop, toss. I was like, okay.
He's like, brush my shoulders off.
Yeah.
All right, so who do we have here? Oh, what are you gonna do? I'm gonna stay the
Well, you
course.
should kill him next.
I think we'll keep him.
So creepy.
So
I
weird.
think-
He has his eyes, Eldritch's eyes in that scene were so crazy. They were like super wide. He's looking at him like, oh,
You can't do that.
is this going to be a problem? Or do you want to be the new health and the health and human safety secretary? His head's like turning.
Is this what you really want to do?
I also like how he's like, oh, is that accent German? No, dude, this is the most obvious accent that he has ever. It's not like a subtle accent. It's
Hey,
like he has an accent.
it could have been Austrian, okay?
Polite conversation.
That's
but
true.
he is the most
That's
German
true.
man
Could have been-
ever.
Don't be racist. It could have
That
been
is true.
Austrian.
It could have been Austrian.
Okay, so the next time we see Eldritch, that was like the last scene we saw with him, wasn't it? With Eldritch?
Yes.
Yeah, it was. All right, moving on to the main storyline with Dutch, with Vasily, with Ben, with all them. So at the apartment, they decide to send out Ephraim and Vasily to go do some scouting, and they go to this place. They find out that it's like where all of the Strigoi were gathered. What's above that was a dark and damp place, and it turned out to be, hey,
Bolivar's house.
oh yeah.
I love Vasily's knowledge of all the like underground, like the
Prohibition era stuff.
Prohibition stuff. He knows like the history. It's like, oh, there are secret closets everywhere.
I like the architecture. It's very nice.
I mean, his dad was an architect.
No, yeah.
That's what he wanted him to study. So like he grew up with that knowledge base and then just applied it to what he did.
Which is perfect. It's perfect. I also... Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna move on. So. What were you-
I also like the idea he gets to take the thing off the sewer so that he's trapped all the vampires before when they...
Oh, that was so great.
It was
That was
great.
smart
Yeah.
thinking.
So yeah, they find the coffin being rebuilt in there, and honestly, we don't see the coffin again when they come back. Just noting that, so it means they might have moved it somewhere else for the master to go. That's ready for predictions. So they leave. They do some scouting after like seeing the vampires get out of there. He opens it up, quotes Marcus Aurelius. Says the uncommon strategy or something like that. It was a quote. I didn't write it down. Sorry, guys.
I didn't.
So they go back and they decide that, okay, we're going to go back out there while it's daylight and try to get them. And this is where Satrakian's like, okay, it's time for milk and cookies with Satrakian.
I love
Soldiers and sorcery. I'm going to give you a silver sword.
It's a way better milk and cookie session.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. It's sharp and it's made of silver. Don't cut yourself. It's like, this is not a Christmas story. This is a Strigoi story. Say that 5 times fast.
This is what Zach has needed the whole time.
A sword.
A sword.
Would've
Some
come and
kind
helped
of
you.
weapon.
Yes, and direction with that weapon, saying, okay, you hit here, you hit here. Like, if you want your kid not to end up like Nora's mom, you've got to direct him in this, and you've got to prepare him because, like I said earlier, he was completely unprepared when he saw his mom, and F could have prevented that.
Yeah. I mean, F should have told him. And then this is like the second time in this episode when you see a woman with brown hair running at them and you're like, it's gonna be her! And you know it's like, you know it's not, but then you're like, it could be.
That one time I was really convinced only because Zach was standing right next to him. And so I was like, maybe this is the reveal where she turns around, like they turn her around and she's not completely dead and it turns out to be her. But I was like, oh.
Well,
okay.
they do it in such a way that, like, you think, okay, you think they're tricking you, but then the fact that Zach stabs a sword through him, you think that could have been, like, the major character development where Zach is the one who stabs a sword through his own mom. Because that's metal.
I thought in that...
That's so metal.
I was making a point, but then I couldn't stop laughing.
Him and Nora would have something in common, with his new mom.
Oh, God. That's what I thought had happened. I thought that was going to be Kelly.
I was worried he'd, like, stab and then drip, drip, burn on Zach, and Zach's gone to the dark side. But, that's the thing. And, sorry, the dynamite.
Yeah.
Yes.
I had a question, like, would that not have blown up the sidewalk? I don't know. I'm legitimately asking because I don't know how powerful dynamite is.
It depends. You can make it as strong as not. It's Vasily. If he actually had it for extermination, I'm sure it wouldn't. I'm sure he knew, like, but I don't feel like it would have blown up all the Strigoi if it couldn't blow up the sidewalk. But that's beside the point. I just think there would have been worms and guts everywhere after that. And I don't know how there's just not worms all over everything.
Have you also noticed that since the assistant is not there anymore, there's no one to turn on the candles at Bolivar's house? So there are no more candles at Bolivar's house. I was like, she was the candle lighter.
It's not romantic anymore.
Well, most candle stores aren't open during the day, so they can't really go out to refill his stock.
What are you talking about? All the candle stores are open during the day.
But
No,
nobody's even
they're
lighting.
they're not open at night. You know what I meant, Steven.
Nobody's even lighting the candles. They just don't care.
That's what I mean, they melted them down.
All you Disney fans, I haven't seen very many Disney movies, but I've seen Atlantis, and I know about Boom. And I know that they were referencing that when they said, boom, boom, and throws the dynamite. You're welcome. You can thank me for the reference in the comments on YouTube.
I think that's the only Disney movie I haven't seen.
Really? Yeah. Anyway, okay, so they go in there, and literally, for a split second, I thought they were going to see the stage, and then it would go, da, 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 da. And Guillermo
Steve
had
was
literally...
waiting for that payoff.
I swear.
It totally looked like I think we were talking about it looked like the bronze from Buffy.
Yes.
I was reminded of Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah. Well, with the red eyes, they look at you and the red eyes flash, and you're like, oh, this is going to be a music video. I'm sure of it.
It was an awesome sequence, though.
It was a great sequence. I really wish that he'd pranked all of us into watching 13 episodes just to end it with Thriller.
In one of my predictions, though, I really said that I thought that it was going to end with Bolivar at a concert. I was a little disappointed that it wasn't a concert, but it was set up in such a...
It was more of a mash.
Theatrical... It was a monster mash.
They did the mash!
It was a graveyard smash.
Exactly. If only we could bring Franklinstein from Sleepy Hollow.
Oh, jeez.
Jesus.
The lighting was beautiful, though. Like, it was perfect.
The lighting was great, and it made sense with all the promo pictures they did for the show, where, like, you see Kelly, she has the red glow, Zach has the red glow, and then the blue glow on some people. Loved that. So they're not really moving, and then suddenly everyone starts attacking. Swords are drawn. We see Ruta, who plays Dutch. If you don't know, watch our interview we did with her earlier today. Not knowing how to use a sword and, like, kind of like stabbing, and she mentioned that in the interview. She's like,
she said it was her favorite.
I don't know how to use swords. It was basically Kevin Durand telling me what to do, and I just kind of like stabbed.
Wasn't it her that took off like half
of the guy's head? Yeah.
That's
Lucy
awesome.
Liu style, man. Kill Bill Volume 2. Spoiler.
That kills the brain just as effectively.
I know, totally. Zach gets his few hits in. You know, for a second I thought they were sending off Satrakian on his own. It's like, go get him, Satrakian. Yes, I will go get him. And I'm like, wait, you're going to send him alone? And then Ephraim and Zach go, I'm like, okay, you're not going to pull another freaking Under the Ground two episodes ago, are you? Or he's running for his dear life. So they chase him up to the top. Meanwhile, we have Ikehurst, who is now smiling and telling Dutch that he'll eat her first. And that's when Vasily is like, no! And starts beating the crap out of him, shooting with nails. Oh!
Yeah, that was amazing.
I mean, it's finally, like, Ikehurst is getting hurt.
Yes.
Oh my God.
And like, there was a moment when he shot him in the cheek, and he's looking down. I thought Ikehurst was dead in that moment. I thought like Ikehurst is gonna die, and maybe the Master will get away. Like I didn't think they would both survive. I figured one of them we'd lose.
Yeah, I thought I was hoping. Well, I can't say that because I love Richard Sammel so much, and I don't want to see him leave the show.
It was that like fighting it in ourselves as viewers. It's like, but it felt like it was his time in that moment. And then the backwards walking.
That was my favorite
So weird.
effect. That was my favorite effect because we see how closely tied these people are to the Master, to the point that if the Master is so severely wounded that they all just get called back. And it was so creepy and wonderful to see that effect. And I wonder if it's one of those effects where they actually filmed them walking forward. And then they did, because they've done this on other shows where they'll film somebody walking forward and then they'll actually just reverse that.
I think
in
they
the
did.
episode.
Or at least did it like...
I think they
had
did
them go at half speed and then like brought it up to normal.
No, I
Something
think
like
I think
that.
they probably did the reversal thing and then made it slower, because it looked like they were walking slower, and then the music was really weird.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, we have Ephraim and Satrakian up in the ceiling, up in the roof with the Master, and the Master's kind of not really doing much. Not really fighting back too much, while Zek kind of breaks all the windows and they throw stuff at the windows, and he's like, oh.
Well, because they're all standing in direct sunlight.
Yeah.
Although now it feels like he could have attacked them, I guess.
Like he should have just killed them right when they walked up the stairs. I mean, if I was the Master, I'm just saying.
Also, why, like, I just wonder why the Master was hanging out in that particular area of Bolivar's compound when it's like he could have just been underground.
He had to raise the roof. So he's up in the rooftops, and they're breaking the windows. Zach is very, like, hitting guitars on windows and things like
Yeah,
that.
that was adorable.
And finally we get, they kick him outside the big window, and he's on the ground, and he's screaming in pain, and he's like, this is the time! The evil will die! And then the Master runs away, and you're like, ah!
Just swing it faster, Jackie.
It's like you see like the little like sign for season 2, and the Master sees it, and he's like, I'm gonna chase season 2, and we get season 2, because that's what happens.
See, even now it's like even good guys are they succumb to this pause effect that bad guys always seem to have, which is like, I want to chat at you before I kill you. No. If you are in a horror movie, a fantasy movie, a sci-fi movie, TV show, whatever, you just jump and you kill that person who's on your opposing side. Because chances are if you talk too much, they're going to get away.
Or if you're in a Lifetime movie, don't drop the gun next to him after you shoot him once with a flesh wound.
Yes, listeners, take heed from our warning. Should you find yourself in a science fiction fantasy situation, heed our words. Just kill it. Whatever it is, just kill it immediately.
And don't wear a red shirt. Okay, so...
Don't wear a red shirt because you'll be bad.
Satrakian is like post-traumatic Master fight disorder, where he's just he's like, we're lost, because he didn't know it was the Master's trump card that it could survive in sunlight. And bam, boy did he survive in sunlight. So they're leaving, they get on the bread truck, and right off into the sunset with Satrakian
on their bank holiday.
On their bank holiday, as Satrakian monologues how the season opened, it ends with Satrakian monologuing about how... Why don't you talk about what he was monologuing? Because you have the notes, and I don't want to get it wrong.
Notes.
And we got to wrap in like 3 minutes.
You know what though? I feel like this is just kind of like full circle from what it was from the beginning. It was almost like part of it reflects the fact that he's so old and he's seen so many things happen, and it's like just like the strain explodes so quickly. It's like he's like technology, everything else, everything turns around so quickly. What's going to happen in a week? And that kind of echoes what he was saying in the beginning.
So what I like about this speech is where he says, so much has happened in a week, and a week from now, what will it be? Mm-hmm. I'm excited to see where they pick back the series up with next season, because you don't know if it's going to be a week later, if it's going to be a year later, or what it's going to be. I'm sure, my hope, I want them to pick it up right here.
Yeah, I would love that.
I want them to just pick it up right here.
I would love that.
I'm thinking like
they've done such a good job
later,
so far.
I feel like they could jump, like because the Master's gone into hiding at this point. I imagine.
Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking. Should we just move into?
have we covered everything from the episode?
Well, we talked about Kelly's scene at the end earlier.
We talked about that with her.
Oh,
so.
by the way, and F's an alcoholic, and F took a drink after that.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, now he's an alcoholic again.
So much has happened in a week. He's broken sobriety, and now we have alcoholic F.
Which is interesting because earlier in the episode, he pours the alcohol out, and this point, he's reached his breaking point, and he's just drinking again.
I mean, having to shoot at your wife, he was trying to kill his wife.
Yeah.
I know.
Who clearly wasn't mindless because she didn't just attack them.
I know, seriously. If only we had OJ as the main character in this show.
Wow.
I'm gonna get some hate for that.
His
All right.
glove wouldn't fit.
Can we move into predictions? 'Cause I have some-
Right before predictions, I got to talk about iTunes, guys. This is series finale, or season finale. Sorry, not series finale. Season 2's coming of The Strain. Your support has been so amazing so far. We really want your comments still while the season's off, and while you buy the DVD when it comes out and watch our after shows with it. Shout out to Mind Control 31, funny and informative. I love the impressions in the interview with Durand were great. Keep up the good work, and great. Strain is a great show. Until next year, eclectic nerdism. The Strain panel is the first AfterBuzz TV after show I followed faithfully. I look forward to hearing other film and TV show references, especially one that fellow nerds would know. DTL85 Sunnydale, getting better. I'm happy this podcast is getting better overall. Is enjoyable. However, the panel tends to get off topic and spend a lot of time trying to do impressions of the characters and laughing at each other's jokes. Wilf05, funnier and funnier every week. Tonight's AfterBuzz was the hottest mess ever. Steven is talking about Kevin Durant's teeth. Jackie is dropping F-bombs and calling out Zach for counting on his fingers. I feel like one day Matt is going to have a panic attack on air dealing with his co-hosts.
I like this review.
All right, and those are the reviews this week. Guys, let's go ahead and move into predictions really fast.
What was our final count?
Final count,
now,
90 ratings,
your
84
AfterBuzz
5 stars,
TV.
6 4 stars, and 72 customer reviews.
Thanks,
One
guys.
season, I'm totally down with that.
That's
Thank you guys.
awesome.
You guys are
Thank
the
you
best
guys.
fans ever.
Okay, so what I'm thinking, I think it's going to pick up like maybe a month or two later. F sort of like dropped down into the alcoholism pit a little bit. I think that the master has gone into hiding at this point, and we're going to see they're going to have armorized the bread truck into this moving
Yes.
vampire killing mobile. Those are my humble predictions.
Jackie?
I do think that they're going to have their bad guys lick their wounds, because the effect of having to draw everyone back and having him leave, and how cool was that effect where it's like he was like skeletal, so we know that he's not in a place of power.
I think at the end of next season we get one of the Ancients awakening. I think that's the end of next season. I think we're gonna see the Master repairing himself and trying to lick his wounds, as you guys were saying. I think we're gonna be back for the season 2 The Strain after show. With now that we've had so many people from the show on, we can only get more guests, and as their stories develop, I'm so excited to talk to them. Guys, I do have to say, it's been a pleasure hosting this panel with you guys. I'm sorry Matt
fun.
Lieberman couldn't make it to the finale.
Matt,
we
love
missed
you.
Matt.
I hate that you had to miss the finale.
Yeah.
Guys, one last thing before we go. Shout out to all of our guests we've had
Yes.
this season.
You guys have been amazing.
Phenomenal guests we've had on the show.
Like, seriously, I shout out to Kevin Durand. Shout out to check out our interview with Ruta Gedmintas, Robert Maillet,
Ben Hyland,
Drew Nelson, Jim Watson, Ansel Parper. Why can't I remember?
So many other people.
Oh my God, I feel terrible. I don't remember.
Either way.
Okay, guys, you guys are the best. All of our fans are always the best, and we're gonna have to pick up where we left off next season.
Yes.
But
yes.
if you want to see more of this fantastic panel,
Where
You
can we
can just
find
watch
you guys?
Sleepy Hollow.
yeah,
we're-
you can just catch all four of the full four of us over at Sleepy Hollow on Tuesday nights.
Yeah.
And if you guys want to keep up with me, you can catch me on Twitter and Instagram at that Zach Wilson, and also here at AfterBuzz. A lot of other shows coming up this fall: Resurrection, Z Nation, Sleepy Hollow, Doctor Who Classics. Let's move on.
At 123 Jackie_B on Twitter, at 123 Jackie B, all one word on Instagram.
All right, and I remembered it was Nikolai Wishel. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. You can find me on Twitter at Stephen Lemieux, STPHENLEMIUX, as well as on the Sons of Anarchy and Sleepy Hollow after shows. We will see you next season for The Strain Season 2!
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Bye you next season!
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.